Right again. All right. So I don't know if people aren't seeing it, if I'm being shadow banned, although I doubt it. I think that's very unlikely. But the topic today, guys, is going to be religion over spirituality. So be sure to check it out. All right. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna wait a little bit here, let people get in, and yeah. But for the time being, I'm just sitting around playing with some wrappers that I have over here with these freaking Reese's because I am a fat ass. I ate too many sweets, man. That's my biggest pitfall, by far. Is sweets. I am a sucker for sweets. Something I need to work on, for sure. But yeah, so like I said, the topic for today is religion over spirituality. Just giving it a couple minutes, waiting for some more people to come in, and then we'll get started. So yeah, but today, it's pretty productive. Put my car up for sale. Been contemplating that for some time now, but I think it is the right time. I've put too much money in that car, much more than I've spent, or much more than it's cost me more than I've had to pay for, than the car is worth at this point. So yeah, so that it's up on Facebook Market, so hopefully we get some buyers there, right? And then yeah, my family's coming down today. They should be here tonight, so we'll see how long this stream goes. Probably end it a little bit shorter than the other ones. We'll see though, because get on a roll and ends up being an hour and a half, which is kind of long, but it is what it is. So yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. My mom, my sister, my niece, her boyfriend, my sister's boyfriend, obviously. So yeah, should be a good time. Should be a good weekend. We're gonna do our little Thanksgiving dinner weekend this Saturday, just so that way we can have Thanksgiving dinner with both families. Should be a good time. So that way when Thanksgiving is really here, we have Thanksgiving with Paige's side of the family. The weekend before, we have it with, at least part of my family. My dad will not be down, but that's okay. So yeah, the topic for today is religion over spirituality. Religion over spirituality. And I think this is a really important topic to talk about today, especially in this world where we see the rise of spirituality, right? We have so many people saying that they're spiritual but not religious. They don't attend church. I currently don't attend church at the moment. My family doesn't. We did for a while. Then we started looking for a different church simply because our views had changed over that time. But currently we are not in a church, like most people, and that has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of the churches around here are cucking, especially the churches in which we feel that our views align with. And so, yeah, but there's this whole thing of spirituality, and people think that it's greater or better than being religious, when in reality it's actually worse, as we'll see today as we go into this topic. It's actually detrimental to be spiritual without a religion, because then you have no ground. You have no ground if you're just spiritual and not religious. And the reason you have no ground is because what religion actually means, the root words are relagal. I think that's how you spell it, how you say it, relagal or something like that. It basically means to bind, to rebind, to reconnect with God. That's what religion means. It means to reconnect with God. And spirituality is to connect with a spirit. Now, there are many spirits. I've talked about this before on previous live streams, but I'm trying to just make sure everybody understands what we're talking about here, and they follow this line of thinking. So spirituality is just connecting to spirits, and there are many spirits. There are evil spirits, neutral spirits, and good spirits, and anything that isn't good is not from God. So, that's why. What happened with the video? Let me see. What do you mean? Give me a second, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know if I have an error here. If I do, let me know. Let me know in the comments, please. What do you mean? All right, watching Destiny. Hey, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Congratulations. I think you just had a kid, if I'm not mistaken. That's awesome. That's truly awesome. Let's promote making families great again, guys. Let's promote that in this world filled with abortions and filled with this, belittling of families. Let's bring back the family. Awesome. It's good to see you, brother. So yeah, we were we were just getting into the topic today, which is being religious, not spiritual. It was okay. Cool. We're good. Thanks, Mix. Thanks for the text message, man. I really do appreciate it. You're a lifesaver, brother. So. Religion, the root word for religion is relagal, which means to reconnect, to rebind with God. And, today we live in this society, this culture where everybody's like, I'm spiritual, not religious. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, it's all about being spiritual, not religious, as if it's this better thing to be spiritual, not religious, because we have this negative connotation of religion. We think religion is this small-minded thing. We think religion is this disgusting thing that has caused all of humanity's problems, especially when we are entering this age of scientism. I mean, scientism has become the new religion. Some places will call it secularism, but it's really scientism, because you're always going to have some sort of God, if you will, that humanity looks up to. It's inevitable. It's inevitable, which is why that reason alone tells you that Christianity is real, because God became flesh, because God understands that man is going to look to another man as a role model. Therefore, what better way to show him how to be than to incarnate, which is what he did, which we'll talk about that a little bit more, but just building this up here. So in this idea of being spiritual, you're just connecting to the spirits. And like I was saying earlier, it's either good, neutral, or bad. And if it's not good, it's not from God. So there's this saying that I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with now that we've laid this bedwork, this groundwork down for religion and spirituality. So I'm sure you guys have all heard as above, so below. And then there's also another saying with that, which is what's inside is outside. These are actually biblical things. Unfortunately, in the world we live in today, which is dominated by this false sense of spirituality, we as Christians primarily, and I don't know, I can't speak for other religions, but as Christians, we hear these words and we think automatically, those who are awake, that this is Illuminati type stuff, right? This as above, so below, order out of chaos, the what's inside is outside. This is demonic, satanic stuff. It's not Christian. It's not godly. It's not good. When in reality, it is true. It's just being subverted, as we've talked about before. This false order of this false principle of order that is created by the collective consciousness, if you will, of darkness. And so, as above, so below, and what's inside is outside. Because as you see in the beginning of Genesis, God said that he basically made man in his likeness and image and breathed the breath of life inside of him. And then in the Gospels, you have Jesus basically saying the kingdom of heaven is within you, and if your light is not clean, the light inside of you is not clean, or it's blinded, whatever, then that's going to be how you see the world, essentially. So, as above, so below, what's inside is outside is very biblical, and we need to take back that term as religious people, I think. So, let's we'll go a little bit further here. So, when light is, when the eyes capture light, right? When the eyes capture light, that image that's being captured through the light is originally upside down. It's inverted. However, once we process it with our mind's eye, what happens? We see it right side up, right? We don't see the world upside down. We see it right side up. Now, the same is true for spiritual perception, i.e. morality. So being that we are fallen, right? Being that we are in this fallen state, that the secularists, the scientism, the evolutionary philosophy, theology that's being promulgated today calls that your animal side. It's not. It's not. It's you're fallen. You're man and you have fallen. This is why a serpent had tricked man into thinking that he wasn't already like God. He said, you'll be like God. But they were already like God. God already made them in their image. And so it's dehumanizing him. It's dehumanizing man is what the serpent did. And that's why there's a serpent in Genesis. And that's why Satan takes the form of a serpent. Now, I'm not a theologian. I'm not a pastor. I simply just read shit and think. That's about it. So what I could be saying could be deemed heretical by the church fathers and all that stuff. I don't know. But what I do know is that we are not animals. We are fallen. And so this spiritual perception as well, being that we're fallen, we naturally gravitate towards the inverted. We feel at home with things that are giving pleasure to the flesh, if you will, giving pleasure to the cardinal side. And society rewards that. Society is built on, as we've talked about in the last couple live streams, society is built on your desires. It wants to fill your desires. And it depends on them, actually. And that's why, this sort of spirituality that's created out of this immorality that we see today is rewarded. For instance, we have Cardi B, who's one of the biggest artists right now, and everybody loves her, yet she makes the most immoral things I could think. I mean, come on, just the songs. It's pretty disgusting, man. It's pretty disgusting, and it's totally immoral. And a lot of rap today. I mean, you look at just some of the rap videos today, like DaBaby. His music videos are basically pornos, and it's disgusting. And just imagine that being in like the 1960s. Now you have 2 Live Crew and all that, but the point is that immorality is rewarded in this day and age, and it's because it's fueled off of your sin. It's fueled off of this. But it labels it as a sort of spirituality because they want to make sure that you're happy, right? I hope I'm making sense here. So it's fueling off of this, and this is why society, because it rewards this immorality. It thrives off of it. It survives off of it. And it just has this loose cannon of spirituality. It's like, do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. But don't be an extremist. Don't be dogmatic. Don't do any of that. You have to be very open. You have to be open to many things. And it's kind of weird that they're telling you that you got to be open. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. It's almost like they're trying to do something to you. Right? It's like, you got to be open so we can come inside. It's pretty messed up. But yeah, so it's like you got to be open-minded. You got to be all these things. And this is precisely why I think the Bible refers to society, this beast system, as the whore of Babylon. As the whore of Babylon. Because her main source of power comes from spirituality without religion. And basically a spirituality without religion means you have no ground. There's nothing grounding the spirit. There's nothing connecting the spirit to source. It's just going off into a bunch of different things, and it's susceptible to many things which could not be good, right? So her biggest fear, this whore of Babylon's biggest fear is commitment. I mean, she's a whore after all, right? So that's why we see throughout history religions that speak any kind of truth being squandered, right? For example, you have Confucianism in China during Mao's China. Statues of Confucius being toppled. All the religious traditions that they had for, all the traditions rather that they had for Confucius, being destroyed and dismantled. This was true as well for Buddhism, right? So like they did the same thing with the monasteries. They would take down their, I think like the Buddhas that were made out of gold, the state would come by, demolish the temples or whatever, and then take the Buddhas that were made of gold, melt them down, or steel or bronze, whatever they were made of, and use them as they saw fit. And so this isn't just about, Christianity. Yes, I am a Christian, but any religion that speaks truth, because you see, truth is universal, right? So you're going to have truth in different religions always. So we see this being persecuted every time. Truth is always persecuted by the whore of Babylon, because it has to be, as we were talking about earlier, because she's a whore. She can't have commitment. She is afraid of commitment. She thrives off of, filling your holes, filling your sins, fulfilling your passions. That's all she wants to do. And so any kind of remnants of truth, inkling of truth, it has to be demolished. And then, like, for instance, you see the early Christians, they were persecuted as well. And now, presently, Christians are being persecuted in different ways. For example, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But, yeah, so, we see this today in, like, China. Everybody wants to talk about China persecuting Christians, but we're doing it right here in America with the church shutdowns, saying that people can't go to church, yet they're still allowing protest. And don't go blaming the state for that. It's not the state's fault. It's these weak-ass church leaders' fault. It's their fault. They should be defying those rules and always meeting. They shouldn't be complying to these draconian measures, yet they are. And they're doing it because of fear. They're doing it because of sin, which fear is the base of all sin. So, and another huge thing that's keeping churches shut down right now is they're afraid to lose their tax exemptions. They're afraid to... It's retarded, guys. It's retarded. So we have a bunch of fake churches now. And so Christians are being persecuted, but it's more so Christians eating themselves than the state eating Christians. We're just allowing it to take place, right? Now, I was reading an article earlier today that in France, they are trying to propose, Macron proposed a new bill that would ID children and also ban homeschooling to prevent radical Islamists, to prevent more radical Islamists. And this is all because of that whore of Babylon being afraid of religion, being afraid of truth. And so let me read you a little bit this Instagram post from RT. This talks about what's happening in France right now. So it says, children would get ID numbers and identifying police online would be a criminal offense under proposed French laws aimed at countering radical Islamists. The new security bill includes a measure to prevent children from being radicalized. It would ban homeschooling after the age of 3, clamp down on attendance, and place stricter controls on sporting and cultural associations. We must save our children from the clutches of the Islamist. The bill, which is a reaction to the beheading of French teacher Samuel Paty by an 18-year-old Chechen refugee, also strengthens online hate speech laws and makes it a crime to intimidate public servants on religious grounds. Paty had been attacked online for showing cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad to children in a lesson on free speech. A father of one of the children named Paty and also had contact with his killer. See, guys, first off, free speech is a joke. It's propaganda. Free speech isn't real. It never will be real, and you shouldn't allow free speech. Like, should I allow pedophiles in my chat? to talk as they see fit? No, I will not. Right? Should I allow a rapist to speak? No. Like, guys, free speech is not a real thing. It's propaganda, so that way it can promote this idea of spirituality and not religion. Because, as we see here, I mean, what they're using free speech for, free speech isn't to protect you, isn't to give you any rights. Free speech is to protect the scientist, the secularist, from any repercussions from the religious, from the people who have extreme views, which being extreme isn't a bad thing either. Right? It really isn't. It means that you believe something to the point of dying for it. That you know something's true and you're willing to put your life on it, your reputation for it, and you're not willing to waver from that position. That's what being extreme is. And this whole idea of spirituality and allowing all things in is counterintuitive, to that way of life. Because, kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry, guys, but free speech is not good. Free speech is not good. It's not even real. And so the other thing that I think is sort of a joke here, I personally think, I know some of you guys have probably read this before or know about that teacher in France who got beheaded. I think that was all staged. I think it was probably faked. Maybe somebody really did die, but I think if they did die, I think it was all staged. My opinion, I'll get into that in a second. But it goes into, there's another paragraph here. It says, other clauses in the bill include reclaiming public funds from NGOs and charities found not to respect the principles and values of the Republic, and, most controversially, making it an offense to publish images that could identify a police officer with the intent of causing physical or psychological harm. So you guys see right there what I'm saying, that free speech is nonsense, because already right here, they're trying to protect their secularists. We just read that right there. So it's to protect Satan from Christ. Is what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect. They're building this kingdom of the world, right? To be somewhat of a bulwark for Christ, which we'll get to in a second, which is all this movement of being spiritual, not religious. Because it allows so many other people to join and be brainwashed and fall into this belief. But then it says, the latter has triggered fears that basic press freedoms are under threat, with 33 people under arrest during protests against the clause on Tuesday night. Which 33, interesting number that it's 33 people were arrested. So a lot of this seems to be like it could be orchestrated, staged by the state. Just saying. Being that we have this gay reset taking place, and the whore of Babylon is only furthering her reach by promoting this idea of spirituality over religion. So soon, what I think is going to happen, and I think this is all part of the plan, we are going to see this is all about destroying religion. Soon what we're going to see is Islam taking over the Vatican, which will then revive the church militant, the Christian militants, starting a war that will be deemed a holy war, but it'll be deemed the last holy war. Then we're going to see the end of religion. Both Christians and Islam or Muslims will then be persecuted at that time, which is why I've been saying that Islam is more congruent with Christian views than Judaism is. It's just a fact. Especially right now. You can just see it in today's world. So they're going to, I think this is all sort of orchestrated to sort of help bring in this gay reset. The gay reset will require the destruction of all tradition. The destruction of all tradition to then rebuild. Because they're talking about build back better, guys. This is all over the place. Build back better. You see this all over the UN. You see this with Joe Biden. It's all about build back better, which means they have to dismantle everything, which then gives more reasons, or gives a main reason, like the biggest reason, this build back better. Why being spiritual and not religious is crucial to this doctrine. Now, let's So I hope I'm making sense here, guys, because I feel like I'm kind of jumping all over the place, connecting dots in my mind that you may not. I don't know. I know sometimes I can be a little far fetched in my way of thinking, but yeah. So this is why being religious and not just spiritual, is so important. Because you need to have some sort of tradition that can reconnect you to God. If you're just being spiritual, you're going to be sucked away by demons, by other malevolent forces that pose as benevolent. Like the Bible talks about, guys, that Satan is like comes as an angel of light. Like Satan comes as an angel of light. Like I'll read you this verse right here. Like this is why being spiritual and not religious is not good. So 2 Corinthians 11:14 it says, no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. That was Paul's letter to the Corinth church. So this idea, it's all about destroying, as we've been talking about, the old, creating this chaos so then they can implement this false order. And like, for instance, if we just take a look at history, right? We just take a look at history and see these other, and we just see what it is like to live in a spiritual world void of Christianity. Because I think the Abrahamic religions, we'll just say the Abrahamic religions, because Judaism obviously was good at a time. It still has truth there. Islam, I think, is good. Christianity, I think, is good. I think, there's truth in Buddhism. There's truth in Confucius. There's truth in Hindus. But anyway, you go back to like the days of animism, which if you don't know what animism is, it's like where people thought everything had a spirit. So the trees had a spirit, the grass had a spirit, animals had a spirit, all these crazy things. And which there may not be crazy, but I personally think that I do think that animals have a soul, but I don't know if they necessarily have a spirit. I don't know because they don't really have free will, right? But anyway, so you have shamans who could take the form of an animal, and I'm not. This is real. Like this actually happens in real life, guys. Like where people can, come outside of their body. Remote view is a form of that. If you don't know what that is, I would look that up. Remote viewing. It's like an astral projection, if you will, where like your consciousness detaches from your physical body and then goes off in this etheric realm. Well, you can do that and then attach your consciousness to an eagle, to a frog, to a tiger, to a bear. Shamans could do this. Native Americans, the shaman is Native American. But another thing with that is the shamans, when they were first discovering they were shamans, were not deemed crazy, but they would hear voices. They would hear voices and be possessed by certain things, certain actions that they had no control over. These shamans would. But because there were other shamans in the community who had experienced similar thing or the exact same thing, they knew how to cultivate that skill set and prepare them to be the new prophet for the tribe, to be the new oracle for the tribe, the spiritual leader, if you will, for the tribe. And so they would teach them how to work on, discerning these voices and working with these voices. And these voices the entire time were just different spirits. And as you can see, there was this decentralized form of spirituality, which we have this huge movement of decentralization right now, right? With economy is a huge thing. Economy is the bedrock for the culture, for this for any culture, actually. And you see that with Bitcoin. But anyway, so this decentralized form of spirituality creates this schizophrenic experience, which you become schizophrenic. So shamans are actually schizophrenic, guys, but I think schizophrenia is different than we view it. I think schizophrenia, you're actually viewing a different perspective of reality. Like, yes, you are not seeing the coherent view of reality that everybody else is. Like there's this saying basically that schizophrenics are drowning in the same ocean that the mystics are swimming in. So I think that's true. But when you have this religion, this not religion, this spirituality, as we did in the Native American culture, and these shamans were schizophrenic essentially, and they were being trained to hone in on these spirits and different things like that. And sorry, I got a text. So they are able to go outside of their bodies and go inside of another animal. Another tribe that was able to do, our legend is told that they can do this. There's not as much concrete evidence for it because we don't know if they actually existed historically. But the berserkers in Nordic culture, the berserkers, if you don't know, were like these crazy Vikings, right? This is where the word berserk comes from. And these berserkers, they would, out of nowhere, they would just get consumed by this anger and go into this deep rage to the point of just destruction, killing anything in sight, beating up anybody in sight, just uncontrollable, fury, just rage unleashed. And these berserkers were said to be, like legend has it, that they were able to, when they were going into these, these state of mind, the state of consciousness, they would then take the form of a freaking bear, guys. Their consciousness would, transform them into a bear, like an actual bear. And so that's what this decentralized form of spirituality is. It makes you susceptible to not good things, as we can see from. I'm not saying like there isn't truth in the berserkers, or we don't even know if they're real. And I'm not saying that there isn't truth in the shamans. But what we see is a lack of grounding, and now what we're seeing too in these TED Talks about spirituality and this spiritual awakening that's taking place is this sort of psychosis that one experiences during a spiritual awakening, where they're hearing voices, they'll be deemed as schizophrenic. And in reality, what they say, this secular, remember, this is all coming from this secularist, because they're afraid of religion. They don't like religion. They don't like religion because their heart is hardened. And they don't like religion because of history, the way it's told. But, they're gravitating towards this spirituality, and they're like, oh, the dude's a nut. The dude's schizophrenic, but he may be spiritual. And they're right. I do think schizophrenia is a spiritual issue, just like I think almost every single mental illness, probably all mental illnesses, are a form of sin, or some sort of spiritual imbalance, not a chemical imbalance, a spiritual imbalance. And so what religion does, why religion is so important, and why you need it in order to have a proper spiritual life. So what religion provides is this actual order of things. It presents you with a church, with a temple. And this goes back to what's inside is what is outside, as above, so below. So if you're, gravitating towards sin, that's going to manifest into your life in multiple ways. And I'm just using sin because it's the best way to describe what I'm talking about here. It's the terminology I use. So anyway, it also ties into this it's exactly what I was talking about earlier with this, what is inside is outside. So this what is inside is outside. So religion, what it tries to do is it tries to show you how to build this inner temple. It shows you that first off, your body is a sacred thing. Your body is made by God, and you should value your body. And by doing that, you view your body as a holy temple, which is also something Paul says and what Jesus says as well. that the kingdom of heaven is within you, that the light that you see, that reality is perceived from, must be clean in order for you to be clean as well. These are all biblical things. So it starts from inside. What is your heart showing? Which is also why, it's said that it's not what goes in, but what comes out that defiles you. That's right. It's not what goes in the mouth, but what comes out of the mouth that defiles you. Because what comes out of the mouth is coming from the fountain that is rooted in your heart. So, if you have this spirituality where you have no real foundation, you're just letting whatever come in, your stream's going to be heavily polluted, extremely polluted, as we can see the parallel in our oceans today, in our streams today. One of the biggest things that people were thrilled about during the lockdown was how beautiful nature was again, they said. Nature's always beautiful if we just took better care of it and we took ownership of the land, as opposed to looking at ourselves as the parasite, as the problem. That's what spirituality also teaches, that you are the problem, that you need to just focus on you and things will get better. So there's some truth in that, where you should focus on you in order to improve those around, improve the world around you. But it becomes this cannibalistic mentality in this spiritual way that's not rooted in any sort of tradition. So this fountain from which this stream of consciousness is flowing from, right, where you're creating your reality in front of you to a degree, your perception. Your reality is dictated by your perception, how you're perceiving things, which is why I keep saying those of us who are awake to the reality and those of us who are not, because we just perceive what has always been there before others, but others had perceived it before us. But anyway, so this foundation should be rooted in the truth. And I think all religions have some sort of foundation of the truth. They all do, which is why I was saying earlier, the whore of Babylon wants to destroy anything that has truth. That way she can supplant it with her false order, with this spirituality. And so, you're working on building your inner temple through learning religions, right? Through learning about God. You're working on building your inner temple, while at the same time building the outer temple. So the church is a representation of that outer temple. It's a representation of what should be inside of you, this holy sanctuary where you can retreat to when you're in prayer, right? That's why Jesus says, you pray in private, because you're going into your holy place. The Holy of Holies is within the heart, but it's also in the temple. And so, if you look at the Old Testament is showing this, where it's the external form of religion, it's the external form of spirituality, it's this external reality. And then the New Testament is bringing it inside. It's showing you the connection between what is outside is inside, and what is inside is outside. So what is in your heart, you're going to create. And what you see is what, that's pretty much it. What's in your heart, you're going to create. So the Old Testament shows you how to build a temple. And then you dig into that, right? You dig into it and you get people like Bill Donahue, I believe is his name, who looks to Jesus as his spiritual teacher, as his spiritual guru to this path of enlightenment. But he thinks that it's all about the inward journey, that the church is, it is, they're not really that important. It's really about the hidden message is that it's inside you. Like the way Solomon's temple is set up, it replicates the brain. I can't go into it right now, but it replicates the brain. And also, it says that the temple is made not by hands of man, but it's made by God. And you have temples here. So there's, you have a temple, right, in your head. And then you have the pineal gland, as we talked about before, which is where I think consciousness streams from. But it's embedded in your temple. And so all of this, so I think, like the song I did a little while ago where I said, where the temporal and eternal intersect. I was talking about, your mind or whatever, where you have all these thoughts, all these repressed thoughts, and then you release them, and then they meet your heart, which I think is where memories are stored, is in your heart. You can look this up. Like heart transplant patients experience the memories of the person's heart that they received, and they begin having different cravings. It's kind of crazy. There's like a whole nother consciousness in your heart, and I think that's where the memories are stored. So you connect the mind and the heart, and now you have your temple. You have your holy temple. Now, obviously, it goes beyond the physical, right? It goes beyond your mind and your heart. It goes far beyond that. But this is just showing you how it's fractal, right? Because reality is fractal. And so you have people like Bill Donahue who are like, hey, guys, it's all inside of you. You are God. You are God. You are Jesus. You are one with everything. It's all within you. And there's some truth to that, right? There's some truth to that. But what is missing is this understanding of something outside of you, something beyond you, because you did not create all of this reality. You just didn't. Something else did. Something else. And that something else is God. And so without that, you go down this road of self, you start committing idolatry to the self, which we all then become kings. We all then do what's right in our own eyes, as it says in Judges, where nobody was king and everybody was doing what's right in their own eyes. That's what the spirituality brings. And so while there is truth in that the Solomon's temple, the Old Testament was really describing how your mind really works, how the brain works, how consciousness works. Yes, that is true. But it is also showing you how these thoughts and consciousness manifest themselves into reality. And so if you have this bedrock of religion, this bedrock of tradition, you are then going to be manifesting a much more pure version of reality. It's going to be closer to the truth than without it. Because without it, you're going to be lost and unknowingly creating false foundation. You're going to unknowingly creating house of cards. Unknowingly, you're going to be doing this. But with some sort of pathway laid out for you, you have an idea of what you need to do in order to build this inner temple, and then you'll see the outward temple. And because of this spirituality taking over everything and consuming everything, what is going to happen, I think, is we're going to have to start rebuilding these churches again, which is why I think Kanye West has a point when he's rebuilding the churches. He's rebuilding the monasteries, but he's doing it without tradition. He's just basing it all on the spiritual movement. So what I think is going to happen, because the world is slowly consuming the extreme religious groups of the world. And the two extreme religious groups of the world right now are Christianity and Islam. So they're going to create create this holy war, which will be the last war, and then peace will ensue after that. Peace will ensue because religion will have died. God will have died completely. The idea of God is dead from Nietzsche will be fulfilled through this last holy war between Islam and Christianity, and it's going to ignite beyond belief by the taking over of the Vatican by Islam. And with this, we're going to see the dismantling of all religions, but then they're going to be taken over because you need some sort of spirituality to guide the populace, because we are spiritual in nature. So the churches, both of Islam and Christianity, will then be taken over by private industry and by the state. So I think that the state will take over the Catholic and the Orthodox churches, while the private industries will take over the Protestant churches. The Protestant churches will sort of be the foot soldiers, while the Catholic and Orthodox will retain their tradition, but it's going to be so subverted, as we see in the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is illustrating this pattern in real time. The Orthodox Church is not far behind. Protestant churches, while they do, see, the downfall with Protestant churches is that they attempt to create tradition by destroying tradition. So they don't realize that this Protestant idea is rooted in a satanic thought. Like, yes, there's truth in it. I was a Protestant at a time. I know a bunch of Protestants. I can tell you right now, they are better Christians than me. Hands down. Better Christians than me. I have a lot of flaws, a lot of issues in my life, right? As far as things that I need to work on. But I'm just talking about overall. So this Protestantism is rooted in this satanic thought, because it's about getting rid of the old and bringing in the new. It's like, we can do it better, which the Catholic and Orthodox Church had this foundation from the beginning of Christianity, from the beginning of Christ's time. So they're going to be taken over by private forces, which will then be the foot soldiers for, which is what I think Kanye West is playing a huge role in, is creating this anti-Christ Protestant church. And then the states are going to come in and just control, puppeteer. They're going to be the puppeteers for the Catholic and Orthodox Church, which we already see for the Catholic Church. I mean, Pope Francis said that he endorses Joe Biden. Now, I don't think that we should have voted. I'm against voting. I think they're both snakes. But if you're going to vote for Biden, you have some issues. But if you think Trump is your savior, you have issues as well. So that's why it's so important that we begin to reconnect with God through religion, because you can't reconnect through God, with spirituality. There's no barrier between you and Satan. There's no barrier between you and his minions. There's no barrier between you and other, neutral spirits, which are not from God. But with religion, you then build that foundation. So by us reclaiming this religious atmosphere, this religious word, this religion over just spirituality, we can then rebuild society. Because ultimately what Christianity and these religions do, they teach you how to build a civilization. If you just watch, or just read rather, all of the Old Testament, you see that the entire time God is leading the people to build a nation. They are building a nation the entire time. Right? So we tend to manipulate that, or not manipulate it, but we tend to demonize it by saying, well, God God ordered the Israelites to kill women and children, and then to take the women who weren't married and then make them their own. And then God said that if you didn't do that, I will punish you. And we see that punishment being fulfilled because they didn't do that. Sorry, my nose hairs are itching. I know I look like I'm sniffing a lot of Coke right now. But no, my nose is just really itchy right now. So we see that... damn it. Lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. We see that punishment being fulfilled in Judges, where the tribes that they did not get rid of began to take over Israel. And so there's a higher purpose for it. There's a larger reason for it that God knows, which is why we need to have something outside of ourselves. And with spirituality, it's all about the internal. It's all about inside of you. Everything outside of you is just what you create, which is not, it's true, but it's not completely true, because there's a creator beyond your perception, and that is God. And that's what religion tries to teach you. It tries to show you. And so the Old Testament shows you this building of a nation, this freeing the people, right? And then Jesus then intertwines all of this with the spiritual aspect, with the deep spiritual aspect. Like, guys, like, whatever they do to others, they are doing to me as well. It's showing you that we're all connected in this way through God. We all have the seed of God inside of us, and it's up to us as humans, which is the root word of humans, which is humus, which means fertile ground, fertile soil, to allow that seed to grow, which is why there's so many parables about the seed, about the scattering of seed by Jesus. So, re-embracing the idea of being religious and not spiritual. We need to popularize that, guys, and we need to really mean that. We do. I think so anyway. This is my opinion, because the culture is... We're looking for something. We're looking for something. We are making COVID-19 a god. Like, let me show you this freaking picture here. Like, I'm sure some of you guys saw this, but this is why we need religion and not spirituality. I'm going to show you guys this picture. Nurse COVID. I'm just going to do Nurse COVID statue. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but we are making a god out of this COVID-19 because we need a god, right? We need a God. And this is precisely why Jesus, our God, they're the same thing, became man, is to guide us, because we need a man, unfortunately, in this, because it's just because we're so fallen. But anyway, look at this is what I'm talking about, guys. Right here. Look at that. We need it. We need a God. We need a God, and we're making a God out of anything. And right now we're making a God out of healthcare workers. Before that, we were making a God out of superheroes. Yeah, that's why superheroes were becoming popular. And then we're realizing that we actually have these psychic abilities. That's becoming mainstream science, guys. This whole remote viewing, controlling shit with your mind, reading people's thoughts. The government has been doing that for years. I have this interesting book. It's called Phenomenon by Annie Jacobsen, I believe is her name. And she goes into a lot of details. She's a journalist, covers a lot of this shit. She talks a lot about DARPA as well, what DARPA's doing with artificial intelligence. Just look her up. Look up a couple of her interviews. She talks about it extensively, guys. It's really interesting. And we've been doing this stuff like since the 60s. Actually, we've been doing this stuff since probably for a long time. But where I know it began is in World War II, when we defeated Nazi Germany. Well, we didn't really defeat them. The Soviet Union did. And us in the Soviet Union discovered a lot of occultist books and I don't know, sanctuaries or something like that, and rituals through the Nazis' labs and, their whereabouts, their headquarters. And we were like, oh shit, they're onto something, because I'm telling you, dude, the Nazis were onto something. I'm not saying they were right in killing the Jews. Like, that's messed up. That's totally wrong, right? But even that story is not told correctly. Like, they did not kill 6 million Jews. They had wooden doors on the alleged infirmatories, or whatever the fuck they're called. They had wooden doors on where they allegedly burned people, guys. Anyway. But they have to demonize the Nazis because, first off, they did kill a lot of people, right? That is wrong. That is wrong. I think war is satanic. War is not good. War is never good. There are times where you have to defend yourself, right? But war for the sake of war is always bad. Like, we have this idea in our culture that war helps the economy. Like, FDR is like, that's how he saved the economy, was through World War II, they say. It's so evil. This evil thought. Abraham Lincoln, cocksucking Abe. he started the Civil War because he wanted power, and it was and it was to restructure the economy. And so now we have this war on religion. It's always been there. And so they're trying to destroy these inner temples, and we need a God, which is why we're lauding a nurse. We're deifying the medical field. We're deifying the medical field so the state can eventually take it over, because we've already deified the state. We've already said, Holy Father Government. We've already accepted the government to be our God. Now we're deifying the nurses and the doctors so they can become God's angels. And that means that the state's taking over healthcare, which is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It means mandatory vaccinations. It means following whatever they want you. It means they have all your data. It means that they'll be able to track your lineage all the way down to a slave owner. And then guess what? If your family owns slaves, which it's going to come out that everybody's family at one point in time probably owned a slave, but they're going to obviously cater or tailor that to their ideology. So if you've owned a slave and you're white, and that slave happened to be black, well, guess what? You're paying, what are they called, reparations or something like that? So, yeah, it's not a good thing, but what we want it, guys. We want it. That's the thing. I know we don't, everybody in this chat, I know we don't want that necessarily, but as a culture, we've been wanting this for a long time, and it's because we've been lost. We have no religion. We have no religious root in society in America, and that's because of Protestantism. Unfortunately, like I've said, guys, I know I keep harping on that, but I'm talking about the general idea of Protestantism. My uncle, he's a Protestant pastor. More godly than me, man. He's helped me out so much. Through my, journey in Christianity. I have another pastor at a local church here who's helped me out tremendously. I have people that I associate with I look at them as good friends that are also Protestants, and I think they live a more godly life than I do in some ways, and I got to follow them in some ways, right? But I think overall the idea of Protestantism is not good. It's not good. It's rooted in this liberalism. It's rooted in this change because the old is bad and the new is good. But, God is always the same. So if there was a tradition there for 2,000 years, or what was it, like 1,500 years before Protestantism, if that tradition was solid, but it continued even before then obviously it's the truth. Obviously it's the truth. And then you have a split within that church. But anyway, we have no religious foundation in America, which makes us so susceptible to this attack on our souls. Because we have no, foundation of that fountain in our heart, which is where, our words, our thoughts, our deeds come from. It's from our heart. Because it's not, and you can't work your way to, I'm not saying like it's work salvation or work-based, I'm not saying any of that. But your heart needs to be purified, and that's essentially what you're going through through this salvation process, is a purification, right? It's this baptism. And so we don't really have that in America. We've always been divided. Like, there have been wars in America back in the colonial days between Christians, between Christian sects. Like, if you weren't a certain Christian, when I was reading through Baptist history, if you were like this Anabaptist, you weren't allowed in certain areas because you weren't preaching this, doctrine that they were wanting you to preach, right? And you had to have license to preach and all this shit. Back in colonial America, guys, that's why I keep emphasizing that none of this is new. None of this is new. The mark of the beast is always around. We are currently living in biblical times. This is all, the Bible is alive, and you are living in it right now. There are Christ figures always, like Moses was a Christ figure, but then obviously there has to be a real Christ, just like, there's the Antichrist, but the ultimate Antichrist is Satan. He's the main one, right? So, lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, guys. Damn it. I am sorry. I was kind of on a roll there, I think. I lost my train of thought. But we have no religious foundation in America. We don't. And with the religious foundation that we do have, it's so malleable because it's based on the idea. It's based on the idea that new is good and old is bad. That's all Protestantism is. It's new is good and old is bad. And so with that, we have a very dark and windy and difficult path back to religion, to true religion. And that's why I think, it's crucial that we all start making our own little home churches and trying to find the tradition that suits, your spirit best, right? You find the tradition that's been around for a long time and suits your spirit best, right? And I just say that because certain people are going to resonate with Protestantism, certain people are going to resonate with Catholicism and Orthodoxy. Like me personally, it's Orthodoxy. It's what I resonate with the most. So in our house, we have a little corner where there are icons, and above those icons is a cross with Jesus nailed on it. And that's our sort of like little home altar. We need to be, we need to get better at praying in front of that more, worshiping in front of that more. But essentially, we're building our own little home church. And so it's going to get to the point, guys, where it's like in China, where you have underground churches. In China, they have underground churches, and you're persecuted for openly worshiping. And that's what's going to happen. That's why, in France, they're trying to they're trying to lower the radical Islamists, which the radical Islamists, I think, are actually doing France a good service. They're actually bringing order back to France, and they're bringing order back to European countries. Now, I'm not for the violence. I think the violence is wrong. Obviously, I can't emphasize that enough. But they are actually the result of sin. Think of it, guys. It's like Judges. Like I'm saying, like this is all biblical. Like you go back to the story of Judges, or the book of Judges. Why were the Israelites taken over? Because they didn't eliminate the rest of the tribes. And so they didn't follow God's commandment. Therefore, they sinned. They fell off the path. And what happened? Those tribes came back and took them over and tried to restore some sort of order. That's exactly what's happening with Islam right now. But then, so the important thing here is to, what I think, work on finding a tradition, a religious tradition, to build your foundation off of. Me personally, I think it's provable that Christianity is the one true religion. Or not, it's not the one true religion, but it's the absolute truth. It has the absolute truth. And it has the absolute truth simply because, I'll show you this image again. It's pretty obvious to me now that I see this, but I struggled with it for a long time. So, as we see here, we have God COVID, right? And we have God COVID because we need to deify something. And now we have God government because we need to deify something. In Exodus, what did the people do? They said, man, we should have stayed back with Pharaoh. Although we were slaves in Egypt and Moses freed us by the command of God and God's leading us every step of the way, despite that, we want a king, guys. We want something that we can actually see. We want to worship something that's tangible, right? We want that. Because we're fallen, because we have a lack of faith. And it's an innate lack of faith, is what it is. Like, that's why the church fathers all say, like, the best way to overcome sin, like, there's not anything you can do to overcome sin aside from praying. Aside from praying. That's the most powerful thing anybody can do, is pray. And this is... So anyway, so it's praying. So it shows you that the flesh, there's nothing you can do to work towards a purification. It's all about praying and God's mercy. And that's why it's so tempting for us to find a person in the flesh to worship. A person in the flesh to be king. That's why so many people are thinking Trump is a savior. That's why so many people are looking at Biden to supplant Trump and restore the old order. Although the old order never changed, it's all the same. But anyway, so with that in mind, these are provable things that we can see in our everyday life, and we can see that it ties back to the Bible and the story of Exodus. With these things, taking all that in consideration, it's very easy to see that Christ is needed, that the incarnation of God is needed. And it is very obvious at that point, once you start connecting those dots, that Christ had to be a real person, that Christ had to die on the cross, that Christ had to resurrect from the dead, and then go into heaven, showing he was God. It has to be. It has to be. I think it's provable. I think that's undisputable, in my opinion. Indisputable, whatever. Because we crave a God. We do, whether we see it or not. We make money our God. We make a house our God. We make our wife or our husband a God. We make our kids gods. Yeah, we do all these things. We worship our car. We worship our phone. We worship our TV. We worship our money. We worship our food. We worship so many things. We are built to worship. It's so obvious. We are built to worship something. We are built to give something our attention. We are built to allow something to govern our worldview. And with this idea of being spiritual over religious, means that you are allowing anything but God to govern you. So, it's so important that we start building our own little home churches. But we don't do it from our own pride. No. We don't think that we can build these churches our own. No, I think the best way to do, what I've been doing is I've been watching a lot of church services, or sermons rather, and I've already studied a lot on, the Latin Mass and the Divine Liturgy. The Latin Mass is the traditional Catholic Mass. The Divine Liturgy is the Orthodox liturgy. And just trying to see what they do, and then seeing what we can do as a family to then better worship that way. And bring that worship into the home. Because the churches are done for, guys. COVID is destroying the churches and replacing it. The churches are being replaced with this. And this is some freaking gravy here, guys. Churches are being replaced with this. Let's see. This is what churches are being replaced with. Churches are being replaced with this. This is your new church. That's your new church. That's society's new church. The Whore of Babylon, that's the church she wants. The hospital. Because, give me a second here, I'll pull up another picture, and this is who your pastor is, guys. This is who your pastor is, the new pastor of this church. This is your new pastor. Right here. That's what the Whore of Babylon wants. For you to worship that. In her church, the hospital. And this is once again, guys, how they're taking the truth and distorting it. Because you know what the actual church, is supposed to be? The church of God, right? Whether, you can say a mosque, you can say you can say the Orthodox Church, Catholic Church, whatever. But a church that's supposed to be dedicated to God, right? You know what that's supposed to be? You know what that actually is? This is what the Orthodox view the church as. A spiritual hospital. It is a hospital for the spirit. It is a hospital for your soul. And what are they doing? Guys, this is spirituality right in front of your eyes. This is spirituality right in front of your eyes. You cannot avoid it. You cannot avoid it. It's spirituality right in front of your eyes. What is inside is outside. Right now we are so ridden with sin and immorality, and we're looking for a God. We're looking for a leader, and we're coming to that. We're coming to that for our leader. We're coming to that for our God. We're calling the hospital in which you go to fix your broken arm the new church. And we're doing that because we have lost religion. We have lost tradition. We are no longer trying to reconnect with God because we have been told God is bad. We have been told God is a dick. We have been told God is vindictive. when in reality, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. It's all inverted. As above, so below. What is inside is outside. What light, when your eyes absorb light, the image that light first gets, and like reads, it's upside down. It's upside down. In your mind's eye, the light that Jesus talks about, the light. Let me find that verse real quick. Jesus, the light inside, verse. It's that light. It's the light. Let's see. So it's the light inside, guys. Let's see. Why can't I find it? I can't find the verse. I'm sorry, guys. I can't find the verse. But basically he says that, like the light through which you see or whatever is, pure. I talked about it a few times already. So that's what allows you to see the world right side up. That's what allows it. Otherwise, you'd be viewing the world upside down. And they do the same thing with the spirit. They do the same thing with the spiritual perception. Which is why we have this in hospitals in full capacity. And we're shutting down actual spiritual hospitals. We're shutting down actual spiritual hospitals. So that way the spirit gets in such a state that you are willing to take whatever to give it hope. And people are finding hope in a vaccine. People are finding hope in a president. People are finding hope in a political party. People are finding hope in everything but God. And it's because we've come so far away. It's because we believe in evolution. It's because we believe humans are parasites. And if God is good and God creates all good things, well, then he couldn't create a parasite. He couldn't create humans as a parasite. And so that's why it's important to be religious and not spiritual. Religion is always better than spirituality. Always. Always, always, always. It's a defense against Satan. It's a defense against the collective consciousness of darkness. It illuminates. You become a lighthouse by following truth. So that's what I had to talk about today, guys. That's pretty much what I had to say about that, man. So if you guys have any questions, or if you guys have anything you want to share, have any thoughts, let me know. Let me know. For a long time, I like drinking lukewarm water. But as of lately, I've been liking my water to be refrigerated, It's more refreshing, right? To have a nice, crisp water. And don't worry, it's BBA free. So no frogs are turning gay because of this. So yeah, guys, that's what I have. And also, please, I ask you guys to, if you enjoy the live streams, you get anything out of it, support me on Patreon, support me on Cash App. And yeah, so the Patreon, there are 2 tiers. First tier is $5 a month. You get 2 short stories, 4 poems, early access to the free short story and the free poem a month. And then the second tier, customized story, customized poems, and you also get early access to everything as well. And then Cash App, it would just be nice if you guys, wanted to support a little bit, being that I don't have an actual source of income anymore because I was fired for my beliefs. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating, but we're not, not playing a victim either, because that's what they want you to be. That's what they want you to be, is a victim. And that's why they paint Christianity as this victim culture. Nietzsche, what's the book? The Genealogy of Morality. Nietzsche talks about how this slave morality derives from the Jews. Or I guess it's been around forever, but right now it's most prominent in the Jews, and then Christians are just super Jews. And it's all about poor me, poor me. It's this victim mentality. But Christianity is not that. Christianity is not a victimhood culture. It's not. It's anything but. It shows you not to be a victim. Did Jesus act like a victim when he was hung on the cross? No. I missed a lot of this video. Dang. Yeah, man. Man, you're going to have to go back and rewatch it, man, because I've already went through pretty much everything. And, yeah, damn. But that's all right. It's always up here. I'm going to download these. I'm going to do snippets and everything. But basically, spirituality without religion is horrible. It just allows for any sort of entity to take you over. And that's why you need religion, in order to actually be spiritual. Because it gives you a foundation of truth. And, yeah, man. So, without it, you have this, guys. You have this. Without religion, you get this. Oh, I got the flash on and everything. You see my little light? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. No, man, I don't think so. I think the reason why... Now, once again, I want to emphasize, I'm not a theologian. I'm not a pastor. I'm just a dude who reads and thinks. I think the reason why Jesus said, "My God, oh God." Yeah, I did say something about that about a week ago. That is right, man. So I think it was like showing the human side, like, because Jesus is both human and God at the same time, showing that we too are, God in a way, but not like Christ. Anyway, like I said, I'm not a theologian, because Christ is the foundation of reality. He is that pattern of reality. He is why we see everything the same way. And by the same way, I mean, like you'll see my smartphone and know it's a smartphone. We don't have to quibble over that. But from your comment, there's one line of thinking, which is that is fulfilling a prophecy by David in Psalms, where he's describing exactly what Jesus goes through. Basically, he's hung on this cross, and there's dogs barking at him, and nobody's looking out for him. He says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And so there's a line of thinking that Jesus is doing that to then show another fulfillment of prophecy. Now, I don't really know how I feel about that, but yeah, man, like I said, I'm not a theologian, but Jesus is definitely not a victim. Yeah, but that's a good question. That's something I struggled with for a while too. Especially reading Nietzsche, because I really enjoyed reading his books. He's probably my favorite philosopher. I really like his style. I really do. But ultimately, the dude went insane. That's another reason, guys. A lot of these spiritual people, they go insane. Nietzsche went insane before he died. This whole and that's the other thing. This spirituality without religion, it's just freaking nihilism. It's just nihilism. There's no meaning. There's no real meaning. There's no absolute. So, yeah. But that's pretty much it, guys. So if you did not catch it, I would go back, check it out. It starts a couple minutes in, so I just skip a couple minutes, and then I dive into it. But yeah, unless you guys have anything else you want to add, you want to talk about, we can keep going. If you have any questions, that's cool with me too. Yeah, man, spirituality without religion, no good, no bueno. That's why, like I was saying earlier, my wife and I, my family, we've sort of built our little own home altar. What would Jesus do? Exactly. Like, that became a funny thing, pizza and beer. Yeah, man, pizza and beer, that sounds good. I got family coming down this weekend. They should be here. What time is it now? 8:27. Should be here relatively soon. I got my my mom, my sister, I almost said my wife. That's fucking weird. My mother, my sister, my niece, and her boyfriend. So yeah, it should be fun, man. Should be fun. Have a little Thanksgiving dinner. Should be awesome. But yeah, guys, so I'm going to hop off of here. And if you did not catch this, make family huge. That's right, man. Make family big again. That's another thing. Guys, started a Shopify store. We are promoting big families and just starting a family. In this world where families are demonized and abortion is accepted, we're trying to do away with that line of thinking and make families big again and start families. And as Mick said, thank you, Mick. You're awesome. As Mick said in one of my comments, it's about raising a family. We'd like to hear your thoughts on the third. Oh, thank you. Oh, man, that's an awesome question because guess what? I've been taught. I've actually am working on writing. I'm writing about that in my book right now. So I'm so glad you talked about that because I don't know when you jumped in. I'm trying to see if I can see more of your comment, but it won't let me. But real quick, before I answer that, America, the current birth rate in America is 1.7, guys. 1.7 children. That is below the threshold needed in order to sustain the culture. That means the American dream is dying. My family's here. That's freaking awesome. Hey guys, I'm doing a live stream. I will be up there in a little bit. Anyway, at that current rate, we will not sustain. Our tradition will die. This whole thing that I've been talking about, dead, gone, right? So, make families big again. Start a family, raise a family, support it on Shopify. You can find it in my Facebook in the bio. Support it. It'd be awesome. Truly appreciate it. But to answer your question, would like to hear your thoughts, or do you just like to hear my thoughts on the third temple as they're preparing to build and rabbis believing they're contacting. I can't see the rest of what you're saying, but the third temple is a very interesting topic. So this goes back to, I'm not sure when you joined in or anything like that, but this goes back to what I was saying earlier on what's inside is outside. We look at the Old Testament, right? The Old Testament shows us how God is building a nation, how he's leading his people through the collective consciousness of light. If you're not following what I'm saying, go back and look at another video. The last video, I go into that, and the video before that, I go into that as well. But the collective consciousness of light, God is using them through this collective consciousness to build a temple, right? But this temple is starting in their minds without knowing it. So like when you come up with a house, what do you have to do? You have to create a blueprint. But that blueprint starts where? In your mind, in your heart. The idea of building a house starts within your heart, within your mind. And then you bring it out, put a blueprint together, and then you start building shit. So, that's what happened with the temple, Solomon's temple. It was the same thing. And as it was being constructed, since it was constructed with the help of God, they were seeing the design of the mind, right? They were seeing the design of the inner temple. Because if you look back, it actually replicates how your mind works. Because you have the temple, right? The two temples right here. You have the temples. And these temples were not created by the hands of man. They were created by the hands of God. So, we have these temples and then Solomon's temple, right? And then we have the pineal gland, right, which is the Holy of Holies, and then the heart. Actually, it's not the Holy of Holies. The heart is where the Holy of Holies is. And so you have that division, right? In the Old Testament, where the priest would go behind the curtain and do the sacrifices, all this stuff, communicate with God, all these things, the Holy of Holies. So we have this on the external, right? In the Old Testament, it's all about the external. All about the external, showing you this. At the same time, showing you how the mind works, showing you how the inner temple is constructed. And God was showing you how to do that and put him at the center, right? And then the New Testament, it completes it by showing you that, by revealing Christ. It's the greatest revelation there is, right? God in the flesh, Christ. And what Christ shows you is that, hey, that outside kingdom that you're thinking of, because people wanted Christ to be this warlord. That's what they wanted. That's what the Jews were originally thinking. Sorry, there's a lot of noise going on up there. They wanted Christ to be this warlord. That's how the Jews perceived him, and the Jews still perceive, their Messiah as coming out and taking over all nations, right? Which Christ already has done that, and he's for all of times Christ has done that. But anyway, he wasn't that. Christ wasn't that. That's why he said the kingdom of heaven doesn't come without. It is not going. When people say, "Look over there," don't be fooled. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Right? Jesus says that because he's trying to show you this connection between the temple of the Old Testament and the temple inside. Because if you notice, Jesus, after he heals the leopard, he says, go to the temple, show the preacher, follow the old tradition, right? The dove, you're still going to have to kill the two birds, or you're going to have to kill one bird, I think is what it was, and put the blood on the other one. You're going to have to do all these other traditions. So, he's showing you the connection there, that all of this has to happen within you. So, the third temple, being that this is our new pastor, right? This is our new pastor. And hospitals and the government are our new church. This temple is going to be seated by what I call Zeitgeist Jesus. And Zeitgeist, for those of you who don't mean, just means the spirit of the age. So it's the God of this age, or the biblical term for it is Antichrist. I just say Zeitgeist Jesus simply because it is more palatable in today's age, which maybe I should just be, more dedicated to the Antichrist as far as saying that word. But I think Zeitgeist Jesus hits a little differently. But anyway, so Zeitgeist Jesus is going to be sitting on that throne. So what's going to happen is we're going to continue building this temple, but this temple is being built from our inner core. It's being built from our inner temple. So our inner temple we're manifesting in reality. And since the world is so full of sin, since the world is so fallen and not wanting to repent by and large, what is going to happen is this temple that's being created is going to seat the Antichrist. So somebody's going to come in and fulfill that temple. It's going to sit on the throne in the holies of holies. So I hope that answers your question. I think that third temple, no bueno. No bueno. I hope that answers your question. I know it really wasn't a question, but you wanted to hear my thoughts on that. And that's my thought. I think it's all in line with what we're seeing here. It's just, you can just see it. I mean, literally, if you read the Bible, you see the past, future, and present. It's all there. Because God, for instance, there's only now. There isn't a past, there isn't a future, there's just now. Now is just always happening for us. In our reality, there is only now. That is undeniable. There's only a now. So for God, in order for the past, future, and present to exist, God's now is literally in the future, is literally in the present, and literally in the past. That's why there isn't anything God doesn't know. And that's why the Bible, you're living, breathing it right now. You're taking part in all these biblical stories. I think we are looking for this ark of consciousness. There's this ark that's being built right now for those with eyes to see. And they're preparing. They're, buying a little more food than than usual. They're preparing for the worst. They're getting out of the dollar and saying, you know what, silver. looks really nice right now. They're saying, you know what, Bitcoin, I can do some Bitcoin. And you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, guys. You can buy it in fractions. Silver's like $23 an ounce. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just saying. I think people do that for legal reasons. So, you can't come back and say, Luis Acevedo gave me financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But that's why, you see people preparing, homesteading. Homesteading's a huge thing. Yeah, so I think anybody that's in Ohio, I'm serious, anybody who's in Ohio and watching this, I am, my family and I, we are trying to buy some land and start our own little community. You can call it a commune, whatever you want. But really what it is a place where we grow our own food, because the system's going down. This whole great reset is hitting every aspect of life. This is just the top tier. The physical, the spiritual. Destroying religion, replacing it with just pure spirituality. But they're also destroying the food. They're also dehumanizing you. They're also destroying the culture. I've been buying more gold mining stocks. Gold is down a lot, and big-time investors think I'm sorry, guys, I don't know why, but it will not let me hit the C more in these things, and I'm not sure why, but yeah, so gold the gold mining stocks are going down right now, but the thing is long-term. We have to think long-term. That's my thought process anyway. I've been, we've been doing better than the stock market. I'll just put it as that. We've been doing better than the stock market with just really simple investment, guys. Really simple investment. They think it's strange. Yeah. It's strange because it's manipulated. They control most of the gold, right? They control most of the silver. Like J.P. Morgan owns the lion's share of silver. And they've been manipulating the prices for a long time. So that way they can stock up on silver. And then when shit really goes down and the economy collapses, silver's going to shoot up astronomically. We're talking, this is math, guys. So silver right now, if you guys aren't aware of the gold-silver ratio historically it takes 15 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. Historically. Right now, we are about 70 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold, something like that. And gold's only going to go up as the dollar begins to collapse. And as gold goes up, silver's going to follow. And as silver goes up, the ratio begins to decrease. And they're even saying, because history doesn't repeat. History does not repeat. History rhymes. There's patterns throughout history. Historically, silver and gold used to be 1 and 1. Shit is so bad, they're thinking it's going to do the same thing again. Did you know, back in 1980, I think in the 80s, you could buy a house with 500 ounces of silver. An average American home. And guess what? You are probably going to be able to do the same thing again. I actually think you'll be able to buy a home. I'm not a financial advisor. Remember that. I'm not a financial advisor. But I am very confident that one will be able to buy a house with as little as 200 ounces of silver. Guys, you can buy 200 ounces of silver right now for like $4,000. And if you can buy a house for $100,000 off of a $4,000 investment, that is better than your fucking 401k. That is better than your IRA. Your 401ks are done, I think. Pensions are done. They're all done, which is another reason why they have this whole defund the police movement, is to prepare people for there to be no police, which is why it is so crucial we get together and build our own communities, because it's going to be much better for the police if we just start, for instance, here's an idea, start a GoFundMe for your local police station to help them support. Like, guys, I've been thinking about running for mayor over in Cuyahoga Falls or Stowe, one of the two. When we lived in Stowe, I thought about Stowe, but I thought about Cuyahoga Falls too, just because are running for city council just because the way shit is run is so dumb. Like, why does the mayor in Cuyahoga Falls make almost $100,000 a year when we cannot support firefighters and police officers? That's fucking retarded. You don't need $90,000 a year to live. You don't. I'm living proof of that. My family's living proof of that. We live very comfortably on what would be considered low income. Like low income. Like really low income. Like we live in excess just because we live way below our means. You don't need $90,000 a year, guys. Like, so, but this idea of starting a GoFundMe for our local police officers, or even better, like me and my family are planning on doing, buying a piece of land and starting our own community where we grow our own food, we homestead, we have Christian values. Our God, guys, I would even be okay with a Muslim. Not even lying. I'd be okay with a Muslim, a Jew, just as long as it's honest, right? But it's going to be Christian. It's going to be Christian. You're going to build, on that land for generations to come. That's the plan. And then you're going to have protection. God forbid you ever have to use it. But protection can just be from wildlife. Land in Ohio. That's what I'm thinking, man. That's what I'm thinking. And anybody who's listening to this in Ohio and really feels that they need to do something, you can message me. Like I'm actively looking for land right now. I've been looking for land for quite some time. And I am looking to buy quite a few acres. So that way other people, friends and family can stay there as well. We can build on that. We can build our own little community, guys. City-states are the future. You just look up, I'm telling you guys, just do a quick Google search of city-states are the future, and you see in most university publications, they are talking about city-states being the future. Now, I didn't know that until I looked it up, because I was like, am I the only one with this thought? So I just Googled city-states are the future. Then you come up with a bunch of like Las Vegas University talking about city-states are going to be the future. We're in Stowe and looking for a community to... No, wait. Please, tell Mike to DM me. Tell Mike I got to get back. I'm sorry we haven't been in contact, guys. We miss you guys. You guys are good people to hang out with. And you guys just got married. That's freaking awesome. Start a family. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need. More people doing that. That's fucking awesome. Good job, guys. Congratulations. But yes, we're in Stowe. We're your neighbors. We're in Cuyahoga Falls. We are actively looking for land right now. Tell Mike to DM me, and we will make plans to get together, and we will, we'll actively look for land to homestead. Because as you can see on my Facebook posts and shit like that, we're gardening still. We still got shit growing, and we're gonna be growing inside, and we're gonna be hopefully getting some meat rabbits, and hopefully getting a greenhouse soon. But with me losing my job and getting fired over this bullshit, it's hard. We have to budget our money correctly and see where things are at. So we're just in this restructuring phase. That clapping is the sound of... Yeah, dude, it's the sound of love. It's the sound of love. And you know what the crazy thing is? People probably think I'm an asshole. Yeah, man, awesome. Hey, get a shirt, start a family. Be a rebel, start a family. Get a shirt, Shopify. In my bio. I hate to be the salesman, but, like I said, I just got fired from my job, guys, so I'm trying to make ends meet. And, got to promote this shit. And get a beanie saying, make families big again. But, yes, have him DM me. We'll get back in touch, and we'll start to look at land and shit. We'll start homestead. Like, dude, I'm so serious. I have a couple books on this. I've been watching YouTube videos on this shit. I've been actively doing it. I built raised bed gardens this year. I never built shit before with wood aside from countertops because I built countertops for a while. But yeah, dude, we got a compost pile. We just got a bunch of kale. We just harvested a bunch of kale, right? A bunch of kale, some baby carrots, some lettuce. It was awesome. It was so awesome, man. And we're still growing stuff. We're trying to figure out how we're going to grow things inside now. Because like I said, we're trying to see if we can afford the greenhouse. We're trying to see if we can afford some rabbits. I know I've been talking about rabbits for a while, and I've just been stalling on that, to be honest. But yeah, we definitely plan on doing it. But yeah, we want to get chickens, we want to get goats. We're gonna make shit happen. But right now, we just have a garden, and we're just growing things. We're trying to grow things year round. That's our main focus because we're so new to this. We're so new to this, but it's definitely the way of the future. It's definitely the way of the future. So yeah, man, we have a group of 13 prep. No way, man. We gotta get connected. We have to get connected. We have to reconnect. I'm so sorry we fell out. That's partially my fault because I didn't keep in touch. So we have to keep in touch, for sure. Because I joined a prepping community too, but I joined it on a Facebook group, and it just seemed a little too. I'm not gonna lie, they seemed like a bunch of LARPers to me. They seemed like just a bunch of pretenders. Like they actually were. I'm not trying to judge, but that's just the vibe I got. It just didn't seem like they were real preppers. If that makes sense. They were just like actors. That's just my opinion. I'm sure there were a lot of good ones in the community. I'm sure there are. But yeah, man, I would definitely love to get connected with you guys because we've been prepping. We've been buying a lot of food, a lot of water, a lot of baby formula. Yeah, man, we call it our savings account in food and water. But yeah, have him message. I think he even has my number. He even has my number, man. And Mick, I know you're on board. You've been gardening too, dude. You've been gardening. You've been successful with your shit. And I know we're on the same frequency here. And I know you have your own thing to take care of, man. I know that. But yeah, dude. It's a hell of an investment here. It's a hell of an investment. Ohio, we can make it work. We can make it work in Ohio. Like, I just went to Lowe's today with my father-in-law. No mask on. I didn't have a mask on. My father-in-law did. I didn't. And nobody said shit to me. Nobody said shit to me. There was no issue. It's all like bottom down, right? But what's trying to be done in Ohio is top-down control. Because Mike DeWine's snitch team, he has a snitch patrol out here. But it's all just a bunch of jokes, guys. Like, we're about to have this huge-ass Thanksgiving dinner here. And Mike DeWine's like, guys, don't have big Thanksgiving dinners. They're already talking about canceling it. I know, we need to talk over some... We do, man, we do. Let's, Damn, next weekend's Thanksgiving. Well, just text me, dude. We'll figure it out. You can even come over sometime during the... I know you work all week, or maybe you... I don't know. We'll figure it out, man. Just give me a text, and we'll for sure figure it out. Because we do need to get together. And, yeah, man, we do need to reconnect, for sure. But yeah, dude, it's a joke. It's a joke. This is all a joke. It's all about taking control. But, for a while, we were debating whether or not we should leave the state, right? We were debating that. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We were debating, is it smart to stay in Ohio with how tyrannical it's becoming? But I got to go. I'll text you. All right, man. Sounds good. Thank you. And, yeah, you can catch this a little bit later. Like I said, I'll be doing snippets of all the videos during the weekend. It's just a lot. It takes a lot of time, man, to do snippets of the live streams and the videos. But anyway, I really think that Ohio might not be a bad place to stay because where does, my cousin actually told me this, and I never thought about it. But where does most of the fresh water come from in the country? The Great Lakes. Pretty much all of the water, right? And Michigan would be the spot to be, except that place is a shithole. Aside from Detroit, apparently the 1%ers are coming in there and rebuilding Detroit. The rich know what's up. The rich are doing exactly what I'm trying to do, but I'm not rich. But we can come together with better values, and we can put shit together, guys. We can put shit together. But anyway, there's a lot of fresh water in Ohio. That's something that a lot of landlocked states may not have. And so Ohio is probably a really good place if we can set up a good community. I'm serious, man. I'm all about it. I'm actively looking for land. Like, there's this piece of land. I can't remember the city, but it's $79,000. $79,000. Already comes with a home on it. 3 bedrooms, I think 1 bath, and 7 acres of land. 7 acres of land. That's pretty cool. Guys, we can get... Land is cheap as hell. We'll start up a little group text or something, and we can try to get our money together, right? We can try to get our money together and buy these lands and buy this land, buy land and build on it as a team. Like this will be a team effort. This will be our families coming together, and It'll be fucking awesome. It's the way of the future, guys. If you don't want to get vaccinated, if you don't want to fucking take, any more of these marks of the beast, if you're done with this shit, the way out, there's always a way out. There's always a way out. And the way out is building your own communities, building your own self-sustaining communities. And they're already doing this in other countries, by the way, guys. Like I think in the Netherlands, the Netherlands have like little self-sufficient communities where they have their own like communal solar panels where the power is distributed to their homes, and it's distributed fairly. Like anyway, I did a whole episode on this in one of my old YouTube videos. I'll share it again so you guys can see it. I'll put it up here on Facebook after I get off. But yeah, guys, we can do this shit. It's not going to be easy, but we can do it. And plus, think about this. The price of lumber, it's going up, dude. It's going up so fucking high. It's ridiculous. Just imagine if we bought a lot of land with a lot of trees. Dude, that's a hell of an investment here. But most importantly, it's about just rebuilding communities, man. It's just about reconnecting to God. And this is why religion is so important. But yeah, man, that's... Anything else you guys want to share? Make sure, for sure, text me, guys. If you have my number, or DM me if you're in Ohio and you're interested in this. Yeah, man, just want to make sure we're on the same page. There's obviously going to be rules in the community. Like, we don't want it to be like it is out there in fucking Babylon. We don't want that. What's up, Ronnie? I hear you guys upstairs. It's crazy how a mask is required, but if you have a health issue, they totally let it go. Just crazy to me. Yeah, dude, well, it's religious exemption. It's religious exemption too. Like, I don't wear a mask because of that. And I also don't wear a mask because my medical condition is I have to breathe. I need to breathe in order to live. I mean, another thing is, here's the crazy thing with the mask. If it's so important to wear a mask and you're doing it to care for others, right? You're doing it because you care for others. So you wear this mask to care for... I'm sorry, I'm kind of going all over the place because I hear myself upstairs because I have faithful viewers like my wife and essentially, he's my brother-in-law. They're not married, but guys, get fucking married. Hey, everybody peer pressure Ronnie and Trinity and get married. They need to get married. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Marriage is a holy thing. It's sacred. Anyway, it's sanctioned by God, guys. It's sanctioned by God. It's beautiful. But anyway, they make you wear a mask. They want to make you wear a mask. They say it's because you want to help other people. But why don't they force like little children to wear a mask? Like a baby. Like if it's so important that we wear a mask, why not put a mask on a baby? You know what I mean? Get married. Yes, that's what I'm saying. What's up, Mike? Get married. Get married. Get married. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Mike, dude, your family's based, man. You guys are based. You guys are so based. You guys got a prepper community. You guys want a homestead. Message me after this, dude. We're going to get together and we're going to work on getting shit together to get land and start homesteading. Dude, we're going to get it together, man. It's going to be a Christian community. It's going to be a real Christian community. It's not going to be like these fake churches that are shutting down and are like, the government's going to take us over. We want to keep our tax cuts. We want to keep not paying taxes. It's like, just do what Jesus said to fucking do and give Caesar Caesar's, right? Because, when Jesus was talking to, I think it was Peter came over to him and he was like, should we still be paying for this shit? And Jesus was like, although we are the sons of the king and we're above this, you just give Caesar Caesar's. It's just much easier to give Caesar Caesar's. Just do it. And Romans 13, the government, all about government is a God sanctioned thing. So government's good, guys. Government's good too. So what I'm saying here is not about taking over the government. That's retarded. That's retarded because you'll probably do a horrible job at it. The goal here is to just make it better. And you make it better by boosting the morality, by purifying, by first realizing the sin within your own heart and your contribution to this shit show. Realizing your contribution to the shit show, repenting for your contribution to the shit show, and following the path. What I call the collective consciousness of light. There's a collective consciousness that we're all a part of, whether we know it or not, right? Like, for instance, Mike, you and your family were synced up somehow, some way, because we're both prepping, right? We're both prepping. We're both talking about homesteading, but we haven't talked to each other for a long time, right? But it's dude, there's this frequency that we're on. And it sounds like woo-woo shit, but it's not woo-woo shit. It's like literally how your electronics work. It's how your Wi-Fi router works. It releases a certain frequency. Anyway, I've done a stream on that in itself. But yeah, man. That's unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about, I think I'm going to run. My family's upstairs. They traveled 4 hours. My niece is upstairs, my sister, my mom. It's awesome, guys. But yeah, Mike, for sure, text me. Mick will be in contact. And anybody else in Ohio, I'm serious. Anybody else in Ohio interested in getting out of the beast system, fucking message me. And we'll go from there. All right, guys. Much love. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, don't forget, Patreon. Help a brother out. Go support me on Patreon. $5 a month, you get 2 short stories and 4 poems. Early access to the free 1 short story a month and the free 1 poem a month. $10 a month will get you... Good night. I'll message you. Sounds good. You too, man. And the second tier will get you... it's only $10 a month. We'll get you customized stories and customized poems. For your loved ones, for your family. I can write a short story. All those things. Hey, Mom, she's using my wife. That's so weird. I'll say why it's weird later. But anyway, and Cash App, guys. Cash App me. I have my tag there. I think it's like $, Luis Acevedo 27. And then also, Shopify. Get yourself some swag, dude. Make families huge again. Make families big again. That's what we need to promote. If we want to keep America alive, we have to make families big again. And we also just need to be, and if you want to be rebellious, which is America's culture, right? We're all about rebelling. That's how we became sovereign. What do you need to do? Start a fucking family. All right. With that, I am out. Much love. Peace, everyone.